Hey Carl, I made some modifications to your program and I'm going to talk you through them now. There are a few things going on there. One, you had a lot of items that weren't connected to anything, and if they aren't, I think you may have believed that several things could happen in parallel, but they don't do that. Everything has to originate at the start block, and then they flow through the wires to whatever you connect them to. And that way you can do things that are happen so fast. It's as though they're in parallel. But you'll see that I set this whole thing up as a state machine. You're going to see state equals something, and then it does something, or maybe it checks for something, and then it does something. You'll see on our tutorials page under the software tab, there's a tutorial on state machines, and there's a number of other video examples of state machines that would probably be useful to check out, and our VBuilder manual also has quite a few examples there that you might want to take a look at. So the way a state machine works, and you'll want to check those other sources as well, but you initialize it to a certain state, and then something may cause it to enter to begin the state machine, and then it goes through kind of one task at a time until it accomplishes its goal and moves to the next state. And everything is hooked up in a big loop, so it's constantly looping back and seeing if whatever its condition it's waiting for has been met yet. If so, it moves on. So in your case, we're going to initialize it to 0, and inside a state equals 0, nothing's going to happen. We're just going to be hanging out. And we're going to then, we go to this start button, yes. If it is, we move it to state equals 1, where our whole sequence begins. And in doing this, it can be a momentary button. You talked about how right now yours is written in such a way that it's got to be a constant on. This will, you just has to be enough for it to enter this one time, so probably about a 5,000th of a second or so, and it's on its way. So we've got that, so that'll cause it to be state equals 1. If you hit the stop button, you'll see the next thing, either of those paths, it goes to the stop button. And if that's the case, I have to adjust my seat here real quick. If that's the case, then we're going to we'll be going the right path here, and a 0 is copied into state, so that's going to be kind of our hangout state, and we're going to turn everything off. I believe these are the only 3 things that you've got this tied to, but if you have other things you need to turn off, just add those to the copy block. Okay, then the next thing we're starting to look at our state machine, and we just constantly ask, okay, what state are we in? Is state equal to 1? If so, which it would be right after you hit that start button, then we're going to start a timer, and then you'll see I copy a 0 into internal run. That's your timer. That's the same thing as resetting it, and then I'm copying a 1 into both of these values, the roller and the nozzle, and what that does is that turns them on. When you copy a 1 into them, that's the same thing as turning on. And then you see I also copy a 2 into state. So next time it's going to go through this pattern. It's going to go here, check the status of our start button. As long as the stop button isn't pressed. Let's see, actually this one is going to be, let's add something to this as long as I'm here. We actually only want to put it back into state equals 1 if it's currently at state equals 0, because otherwise it's just going to keep hanging out there. So in case, let's say, you're holding down the start button, you don't want just to hang out at state equals 0, you want it to move on. So we're going to only, let's see, we'll do it like this. Sometimes talking these things out, you figure out you got mistakes. Okay, so if state equals 0 and the start button is pressed, then we're going to go ahead and move it to state equals 1. If not, it might be halfway through its sequence, and we're not wanting to keep resetting its sequence. We want to be allowed to move through the sequence. Okay, so like I said, we were at state equals 1. We started our timer. We moved to state equals 2. When it loops around here the next time, we'll see, right now we know state is equal to 2, so it's not going to go through this path. If the stop is pressed, then we'll turn everything off, but I assume it won't be the first time. You can go, is state equal to 1? No, it's not. State is now equal to 2. and then it's going to ask, is the internal run, is that timer, I'm actually want to say greater than or equal to 3. If it is, it moves on. If it isn't, it's just going to hang out here. So it's just going to keep going through this big loop, hanging out for 3 seconds. And once those 3 seconds have elapsed, we're gonna move to the next state. We're gonna reset our timer, and we're gonna adjust a couple of these values. And then we'll go through here. State is equal to 3. Again, I meant to do this. So once 2 more seconds have elapsed, we're going to turn a couple other things off and go to state equals 4, where it's going to hang out for an additional 4 seconds. I believe your whole sequence was 9 seconds. So we're doing it like this, where we're going to turn those other items off. I didn't really need to reset the timer here because we're just moving to state equals 0. I could have left that off. But state's going to be equal to 0, and then the next time it runs around, it'll start checking for this will be true, and it'll start checking for that start button to push again. So you can cause the sequence to kick off again if you wanted to. But I think this is what you were wanting to achieve, and just let me know if you have questions.